Hola, buenas noches. This is Abelardo de la Peña Jr., Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, welcoming you tonight to En Casa con La Plaza. It's our virtual programming we've been doing since April of 22, since right after the pandemic, we needed to get to your home via this online media, 3 times a week, sometimes more, bringing you the best of our community's history, art, culture, from our homes to yours via these presentations, conversations, demonstrations, and performances. We've been doing it again since April of 2020. And every other week, we proudly host the Happy Hour, an intimate and entertaining gab fest featuring our host and resident raconteur, Dan Guerrero, as he gets real with some of our community's most influential, inventive, and entertaining members. So our sponsors tonight, PepsiCo and Kaiser Permanente. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the comment section. Let us know where you're viewing from. Use the Q&A feature to ask questions. We'll take them towards the end of the conversation that we have here. If you're on Facebook, please use the comments, little comment section to ask your questions. Let us know where you're viewing from, and you can start a watch party yourself, as I'll be doing. So now let's get started with Dan Guerrero. Come on up, Dan. Let's start the happy hour.
Happy hour. Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. How about yourself?
Well, I'll be fine after one sip.
I have my little glass of Chardonnay.
Yeah, let's see what our guest has tonight. It's always fun to see what guests are drinking. We've had quite the gamut, from tequila to mezcal to champagne to, I don't know, Eddie almost was drinking, I don't know what it was, but it was fizzy. So I was a little nervous with that one, you know, but anyway, that's good. So good news, since we last talked, I got my shot, my first dose.
Well, congratulations, Dan. All
yeah.
Right.
It wasn't easy. Oh my, but it was easy in the end. You know, I'm pretty computer savvy. I mean, I'm not like, you know, whoever that Gutenberg, and Zuckerberg and all those people, but I know my way around it. But trying to get on waiting lists and this and click on that, it was making me crazy. But I was on the waiting list for my doctor, who's with the Medical Foundation. And like, I get a call like 20 of 6. Can you be here in 10 minutes?
Oh.
And I live like 7 minutes away. So I raced and I grabbed my partner at the same time, and we go, and I get the shot. And I said, you know, he's on the waiting list too. And don't you? Well, no, you know, because we're really out and this is the end. And I said, all right. So I had my shot, and we're waiting there, you know, the 15 minutes. Yeah. And then some guy comes up, he says, you guys are lucky. We have 1 dose left. So he got his shot too. So we were very happy and lucky campers. No lines, nothing. I walked up, they did it. You know, I have friends that even with the appointments, they're like 3 hours at Dodger Stadium, and you know.
Yes, it's been a tough climb for a long time.
It's a mess.
But we're getting it done, and our purview is to make sure that our community gets vaccinated. So,
of course, look at our community is being ravaged, of course, for so many obvious reasons, but Biden seems to be making a real push for that particular, you know, older people and lower economics who don't have access to computers. And it's a mess. It's an embarrassment that this country couldn't get their shit together in that. Anyway, let's move on to happier things. I'm so excited about my guest tonight. I'm excited every week, but I love this woman, and we see each other not as often as we'd like, but like so many people today, like so many of us, is hyphenated time, you know? So she's a playwright, a theater founder, artistic director, a community activist, a community leader. She is an educator, and she's a real woman. And she walks the walk and she talks the talk. She is the belle of Boyle Heights, and no one can deny that. So please welcome, zooming in, the fabulous Josefina Lopez. There you are. How are you?
We take a drink of my chicha.
Yeah. Oy, cochina. What did
No,
you
no, no.
just- what did you
Chicha. Chicha, not chiches. No, no. I got plenty of that, but no, no, no. I'm almost done with this chicha. It's I'm in Ecuador at a yoga teacher's training, and I'm studying shamanism. And this is a drink from the indigenous people, the Quechua people, I guess. And they drink this, and it's fermented, so I might get buzzed in the in the
That's
course of.
good. That's a good
So
thing.
some juicy cheeseman might come out. Okay, I can't be held responsible for what I say after drinking chicha.
Not that you needed a drink for that. You've always been quite the little firecracker, which is what we
That's
love.
right. My
It's
mother
what we
always
love.
said,
You know,
"Con esa
I was in Peru and so fell in love with it, but Ecuador también, it fascinated me. I didn't get there, but the
Yeah.
more I learned about the region, I'm so anxious to return to Ecuador. That's a very,
I'm here. I'm going to try San Pedro and ayahuasca. I'm here on like a spiritual journey because I'm entering my path of a wise woman. And so I'm here to see what the ayahuasca spirits and the San Pedro spirits have to tell me. I've been told that I have to do this ceremony so that I can get more insights and be continue to be a community leader and also help a lot of women who are also going to become wise women, because we need more wise women in the world right now. You know, we need the wisdom of all of our elders, so people to step up and really take the lead. You know, because also right now when there's so much fear, we need people to say no, 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 no. There's something greater. There's a bigger plan. There's a renaissance happening right now. There's an awakening. There are beautiful things happening, not just bad things.
and it is the woman. It's the woman. We need the women to lead us because look what the men have done.
That's right. If you've screwed it up for us, we're going to have to fix it now. It's
I
going to take
totally
people of
believe
color
it.
and women to fix
Which
it and
leads us
harmonize it.
kind of right into, by the way, on Josefina's website, she has an entire page on all the paranormal, which is fascinating. And I
Oh,
thought to
good. You
myself,
read it. Yay.
oh, mija, you know what I thought? We could do an entire show just on that.
On Halloween, I can tell you
Yes.
stories
All
that are
right,
going to
let's
make
do
your
that.
skin crawl.
Abelardo, make
Yeah.
a note. You come
Yes,
back
for
and have
Halloween,
just
invite me, okay? I got stuff to
Absolutely.
tell you, stories to tell you.
fascinating. But for now, talking about women and
That's right.
and you are a real woman, as I described you in the
That's right.
intro. And in a lot of my research, I read many times that you actually discovered real women and what a real woman is when you were writing your landmark play, Real Women Have Curves. Did a lot of that enlighten that area for you?
You know, when I was 21, I wrote the play when I was 18, and then at 21, I finished the draft that you see in theaters. But I actually, I feel like I channeled it. It was given to me because now that I'm 51, 30 years later, I understand that the curves isn't just a physical thing. The fact that all women have hips that are wide that give them curves, but that we all have the sacred feminine energy. And the sacred feminine energy is the infinity symbol standing up. These are the curves of the sacred feminine, which is the energy. We need that energy to come into the planet, to harmonize the planet. So all women have that potential to bring in this sacred feminine energy. And that's what those curves are. So I finally got it at 51, like, wow, we have the potential to save this planet, and it takes women to do it.
And we need it real bad, real fast. So pick up the pace if you could.
Okay.
That would be great. Because it was interesting. I read a quote. I read it on this time because I don't want to misquote people. But in an interview you did actually, and you said that I should have been born a man. My life would have been a lot easier. Do you still believe? I guess from that expression, you still believe it.
Oh yeah, you know, like when I was growing up, the fact that I was outspoken and intelligent and I have so much creativity, when I look at the careers of people, of men especially, who have less creativity, less ability, less intelligence, and how far they've gotten, I just go, man, why did I pick the hardest route? And I go, oh, because I had to do it in a woman's body in order to lead by example. So yeah, I picked the hardest route because I feel like I'm a woman. You know, I have a ADD. I have physical chat. I go, damn, like I tell people all I needed to be was a lesbian, and I be every kind of minority, you know. But yeah, I tell people that, you know, God only gives you what you can handle. So God must think I'm a chingona then.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
If there's anybody on the planet that doesn't know about Real Women Have Curves, it takes place in the late 80s in a sewing factory in East LA. And all of the workers, not surprisingly perhaps, are Latinas. And it was kind of inspired by your own life, right? Because you worked in a sewing factory.
I was undocumented and all my friends were going off to college. And because I just gotten my green card, so I didn't qualify for financial aid. So I had to go work in my sister's sewing factory. But there I discovered the value of women, the value of being a working class, third world feminist. My eyes opened up, and it was the greatest gift I got, because I really got my humanity, and I also got the value of, like working in that factory made me realize that, thank God I'm not a man. Thank God I have the sisterhood of women, and that I can ask for help, and that women can contribute to me, and that anything can be transformed in community. And that's what women do automatically. That's her superpower. So yeah, in the sewing factory.
And the community of women is very, very clear in the piece, and not only in the play, but on the screen. And I want to talk about, because you wrote the screenplay, I know.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges, if any, were there in making that jump from the stage to the screen with the script? Was there a great deal of?
Yes, because, plays work really well because of the dialogue. So you hear a play, you see a movie. So I did 3 versions of it. And the last one, my wonderful co-screenwriter helped me with it to adapt it and open it up, because I wanted to keep it in the sewing factory, but the plot of hiding from the migra doesn't work in film because the tension's not there. So we had to really say, okay, who's the protagonist in the movie? And so we had to choose Ana, whereas in the play, Estela is the protagonist. Anyway, I teach classes on adapting plays into movies. So if people are really curious, it's like a 3-hour lecture. It's on my website.
I've got it all coming up because it's fascinating. It really is. You have a whole page about it.
That's right.
You'll hear about it in a minute. But I want to stick with this for a second, and that is that I want to hear what a heady experience it must have been when it became a film and you were at Sundance. With your beautiful film, and we have a wonderful photo here. Look at that.
This wasn't actually when it happened, but I go to Sundance every year, or as often as I can, and I take Latino filmmakers so they can discover it, because I really tell people that in order to win, you have to see yourself winning. So I would go to Sundance many times, and I would imagine winning an award. And I cemented my energy in that field, I guess. And like 4 years later, 4 times after I'd gone to Sundance, we won the audience award and the jury award for acting. And I was like, yes, the power of intention and you saying I belong and I deserve this and really cementing it, you can manifest it.
Taking your place.
Yeah, I think so. As you say, I deserve this. And the other thing too that I always teach people is that oftentimes we come from like, oh, please let us in. And sometimes we got to say, no. We need our voices to be heard, because the stories that we have to teach the Anglo-American culture, mainstream America, the world, are very important lessons from a third world perspective, from an indigenous perspective. So these lessons are important for the survival of humanity. They're not doing us a favor. We're doing them a favor by opening their eyes to new narratives, because this idea of a white man saving the world is an old narrative that has destroyed the planet. And you can only transform the world in community. You can only do it. The story of one person being the hero is ridiculous, because it takes a mother to raise that person. It takes a community to inspire that person. It takes a community to make change. And so we have to give up that idea that it's an individual, because that's a male perspective, a male paradigm in storytelling. Storytelling has to change to show how people of color and all these people who are invisible, who really carry the world on our backs, finally have to speak up and say, enough. We have to change this narrative. Only by doing that can we save the world.
I totally agree, but there is that thing with too many in our community about the sombrero in hand and don't make waves and just do your job and it'll come to you. No, you got to scream and grab it.
And I think so. And the thing is, my career has been very frustrating because I am that person that speaks up, and I am that person that doesn't get hired for it. I've gone to job interviews where I know I'm the most qualified person because am I supposed to say that? Okay. I've been writing for 30 years. I've been writing since I was 5 years old. I'm a wise woman. I'm psychic. I have all these abilities. I know I'm the most qualified person, but I don't get it because I'm so freaking outspoken that they're like, oh, we don't want to deal with this,
Absolutely. You frighten them, I'm sure.
I do. And the thing is, I know they're not going to hire me. So then I say the things they need to know, so that the person behind me doesn't have to put up with the bullshit, the sexism and the racism. And I've actually had people tell me, thank you, Josefina. Thank you for speaking up, because you know what? When I came in for that job interview, they treated me with respect. they didn't give me none of that bullshit. And I said, I know, because they told me I had a chip on my shoulder, that they couldn't hire me. You know, they told my manager things. And I said, I don't care, because if I have to put up with someone's racism, a sexism, and then in order to eat, in order to have a luxury car or a luxury house, and then I can't sleep at night knowing that I sold out. To me, like, my soul being intact, my integrity, feeling good about myself is the way I win. So yeah, I've been fired. I've been let go of many jobs. And sometimes I go, okay, you know what? I guess I didn't come here to be liked. I came here to be heard. I came here somebody said you're a shit kicker. You know, you take names, you know, and the thing is that I go, yeah, and maybe that's it. Because when I look at Shonda Rhimes' career, I mean, I started before she did, and I have as much talent. I've written like over 30 plays. I mean, I can write anything. And I look at my career and I go, you know what? That's okay, because maybe that's what I came to do, because I really came to make a difference, not to be
You're
liked
on a
or to be
different
rich.
journey. You're on a different
Exactly.
journey.
Yeah.
And you have to believe it, that you are on the divine path, and just stick to it.
No, and the thing is, that's what inspires me. You know, my manager sometimes gets frustrated. I love her dearly because she really believes in me. And she goes, she tries to motivate me with money, like, oh yeah, but think about how much money, you know. And I go, money doesn't inspire me. Making a difference, like inspiring people, that's what inspires me. So I tell people, I'm really good at being poor. That's I can do anything, because I've lived in my brother's garage and bad times. I tell people, look, I went from living in my brother's garage to like a year and a half later living in a apartment in Paris, in the most expensive district, in an apartment that took up the whole 3rd floor. So I know the extremes. But if you stay true to yourself, you just realize that poverty or wealth is all temporary, because everything changes. So you just got to stick to your core, and you know, the universe rewards you. Sometimes I tell people, oh my God, like, look at my career.
Yeah,
and I go,
it's
yeah,
just,
you know?
because even if you believe that, you ask the universe, también, pick up the pace, mijo. I'm 80 and I'm still on my path, and I'm like, hello. You know, it's one thing when you're 51, but when you're like, hello.
But one of the things I tell people is that, you know, sometimes people go, hi, Josefina, you give too much. You mentor too many people. You help out too many people. What about you? You need to be more selfish. And I go, you know what? You're right. But I'm an empath, which means I feel other people's feelings, which means that when people are happy, I feel happy for them. And so I'm very selfless. That's one of my flaws and one of my gifts. But I know that Real Women Have Curves got made because I gave so much, the universe has to give you. When you give too much, the universe goes, you're out of balance. We have to reward you. So a lot of my dreams have come true without me making an effort, because they just happened. And I go, oh, how did it happen? I go, oh, wow, you helped a lot of people, and the universe had to reward you. So that's my trick.
People think things fall out of the sky. You know, I'm going, you know what? It came out of left field because, you know, you work like a dog and you stay on your path, and then it comes to you, but it doesn't come by accident. Let's talk about your reward when you have a 15th anniversary screening at the Academy of Real Women. We have a couple of beautiful photos here.
Oh, great.
Look at that. Of course, the star, America Ferrera, and our beautiful Lupe Ontiveros was in the film.
Yeah.
I think we have another,
Yeah, there we are. The panel, yeah.
Is Lupe on the panel there?
No, she had already passed.
She was already gone?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. She left at we had like a 10-year anniversary, and she had passed around that time. Yeah. No, Lupe was an inspiration. She reminded me of my mother, and I told her, I said, I'm going to write you a movie, you know, and I'm going to have you start. And she goes, ay, mija, do you know how many Chicano filmmakers have promised me? Like every Chicano, I work practically for free. I'm tired of it. So she gave me this attitude, and I said, you know what? I'm going to make her eat her words. And so the movie did get made, and I fought for her. And you know what? HBO wanted to like hire her, but they're like, oh, I don't know if we should hire her, because, you know, everyone thinks of her as the woman who killed Selena. And I go, that's not her fault. She's a great actress, that she makes people think that she killed Selena, but that's not her fault. No, you have to hire her. You cannot. Like, I fought for her, and I'm so glad she got to do this role, because I tell people that the reason I'm so inspired to write roles for Latinas is because it's not fair that someone as brilliant as Lupe, you know, got to play like 200 roles of the maid role, right? And she got like 2 or 3 juicy roles, but it was because it was Chicano Latino filmmakers fighting for her.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we should have written better roles for older women, because I tell people Lupe was a goddess. Like, I hope it's okay for me to say this now, but I hung out with her in Spain, and that woman could out salsa me till 5 a.m.
Or out drink,
out drink me. She could out party me, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the? And I was like, I have to write a movie for her. And I actually wrote another movie for her called Lola Goes to Roma, which I'm actually working with my co-writer, George Lavu. We were supposed to make it this year, but COVID happened. So we're hoping that later this year, next year, we'll write it. But it was inspired also by Lupe's amazing passion and the goddess that she was.
And Lupe started very late. She started her acting career very late in life,
That's right. Yeah. It's never
she
too
was
late
the
to follow
best.
your dream. Yeah.
We miss that woman. There's a wonderful photo I need to hear. Why do I look so red? I look like I'm on fire.
Because you are on fire.
I am on fire. I started to just wear black because if you wear white, you look too blanche. If you wear pink, you look too red. I don't know.
We know
Anyway, there's this great photo. Tell me the story here.
Oh my God.
Lupus
Okay.
in the photo. Look, Lupus there in the gray.
Yes. So Lupe and I got to be in Real Women Have Curves in the San Diego Rep production. And so some of these actresses are from the San Diego Rep production. And we thought it was such a great hit that we said, this has to be a sitcom. So we actually contacted Norman Lear to come and see the production. He sent some of his executives. He couldn't make it, but we said, you know what, we'll bring the play to you. So we actually rehearsed it and we presented a reading for Norman Lear and he loved it. And he said, we have to do a sitcom. And of course, we tried to sell the sitcom back in 1995 and I guess it wasn't quirky enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got stories. I got to write a memoir about all the BS that I've had to deal with. But yeah, that was Norman Lear. And we're like, when he said he loved it and he wanted to make it into a sitcom, we were like, yay! Yeah. That's why we took that photo.
But yeah, 85, that was early on.
95. Yeah.
Oh, 95.
95,
wow.
Yeah.
Listen, even today, good luck. Well, of course, we have
I
a
know.
couple of things, but
it's like Latinos being human beings in 1995 was too controversial. That's like when we couldn't get it on.
let's travel back to your beginnings, because you were born in San Luis Potosí, right? In Mexico, and emigrated here when you were 5. That's my little, but that's enough to have memories. Do you remember Mexico? Do you remember coming to this country?
I do. I actually wrote a poem about it. I remember, I tell people, like, I know what being a working class person and a poor person is. And, when people romanticize poverty, I go, I know what poverty looks like. And it wasn't as bad as other people. But I mean, I remember not having an outhouse. I remember dirt roads. I remember eating frijoles and nopales, and that was it. And so, but it's wonderful. I'm so glad I had that experience because, I feel like being an immigrant, coming from poverty, and then having a lot of success, I'm very grounded in the reality of what it is to be a working class immigrant. That's how come I never forget where I come from. I never forget my heritage. That has always been a source of strength. For me, I've always been Lopez, in your face, Josefina Lopez, right? Don't change my name. Don't make me like Josie, don't soften me up. No, this is who I am.
Or change the Z to an S like so many do. Yeah.
People do call me Holo. And I go, no. People have even called me Jennifer. And I go, no. She's got the nalgas, I got the chichis. Yeah.
Put them together. And yeah, baby, you got a star.
That's right. You're the perfect woman.
Tell me about your parents. First of all, there was a story I read about you had an encounter with a meter maid when you were a little girl. That kind of tells you what was going through your mind. Tell us that story.
Okay, yeah, no. So I was undocumented, and I didn't know I was undocumented until my mother told me not to talk about not having papers. And of course, I was a young girl. I was like 8 or 10, and I was like, toilet paper? What kind of paper do we have? Like, I was like, and so she said, yeah, no, don't tell anybody you don't have. And I'm like, so I became scared, and I was like, oh. And so anything that looked official, I thought was la migra, right? When you're undocumented, that's the fear, right?
Sure.
And I remember my friend and I, we were both undocumented. And, the thing is, when I was a little girl, I looked like a güerita, and I didn't quite know it, that I could have passed for white anyway. But anyway, I was scared. I was like, so we saw a meter maid, and then we're like, oh my God, let's pretend we're white, right? And so we're like, okay, let's talk about Jordache jeans and Barbies. And he goes, oh my God, my Barbie this. And oh my God, you look good in those Jordache jeans, like. It was so ridiculous. But we're like, oh my God, I think we convinced them that we were white. That's the only time I try to pass for white. but then I laughed. I remember when I got my green card, my residency, and then my citizenship. I just remember that moment and laughed and said, oh my God, I'll never have
you got to work that into a film or a play one day.
That's true. Like a short little movie, about my childhood.
Because it is at the same time funny and also heartbreaking. I mean, Tell me about your parents, Mija. Tell me about your parents, your mom, your dad.
So my mother's a seamstress, right? And Real Women Have Curves is a celebration of my mother's labor as well as my sister's, because my sister had the sewing factory. My father was a bracero. He came to this country as a bracero. And so I wrote a play called Trio Los Machos, which is a love letter to my father and to Latino men and their music and being braceros. So yeah, my dad came here and he worked as a bracero. And then eventually when they canceled the program, they stopped the program, he decided to stay and he was undocumented. He worked as a janitor, like a maintenance worker. So it was a little bit higher up than a janitor at Amtrak in the Union Station. And my mother worked as a seamstress. And, you know, my mother, both my parents didn't have the opportunity to graduate from high school. So for them, their dream was that for us to have an education, and that meant graduating from high school. So I remember when I told my parents, because my sister wanted to go to college, and I was like, oh, I want to go to college too. And my dad, because he didn't have an education and was not exposed to a lot, he really thought like, no, women don't get to go to college. That's a waste of an education, because you know what, as soon as you get married, what a waste. Like, you know, you're gonna spend all that money, you're gonna be a mother. Like, and I would tell my dad, look, maybe I don't want to be a mother. Maybe I don't want to get married, you know, or maybe I'm, you know, or I tell my dad, no, I want to, you know, travel the world. And I basically the life that I have now. And he'd be like, well, what Mexican man is going to want to marry you? And I'd be like, oh. And I said, well, I guess I'll marry a gringo. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I guess that's the only man who will want you. And I was like,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
I mean, I had fights with my dad because I was like, okay, well then maybe, and oh no, he said, oh, really? But they, you know, you're gonna have to support him. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'd rather support a man than to have a macho for a husband. Anyway, my dad and I had it out. So I wrote Trio Los Machos as a love letter, as my, not an apology, but more like, okay, Dad, I get you. I get how hard life is for you. And anyway, yeah. But you know what? I tell people that I had it really tough because I had a dad who basically felt that women were here to be of service to men. Like our only purpose was to eat tortillas, you know, have children and basically be a servant.
Sure.
And I'm so lucky. And I tell people now that had I had a dad who was loving and supportive and like, oh, see, mija, whatever you want, I would have given up a long time ago trying to be a Hollywood screenwriter, because it's such a tough business that if I had to deal with a macho at 12 and I had to fight for everything for 6 years in my own, I staged protests in my own home because the women were not allowed to eat with the men. We had a segregated kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah. I tell people, somos de rancho, you know, like the mentality of like, oh, no. The men get to eat first. The women eat the tortillas. My job was to eat the tortillas. And I basically, whatever leftovers were there, then the women could have them. And that was the mentality.
God.
Yeah. I tell people like, you know, and so I would sit in with a man and I would sit there and I'd be there until I was served. I was like, I tell people like I had my own like 1950s Montgomery like sit-in, you know, in my own house. And my mom would look at me and she would not serve me. She goes, no, tú levántate, tú eres una mujer, tú tienes que servirte. And I would go get my plate. I would sit with a man and I would keep doing that. And then eventually my mom said, tú no eres mujer. Ya no te voy a llamar Josefina, te voy a llamar Jose. I'm going to call you Jose. So my mom only calls me Jose because you act like a man. I said, no, Mom, I don't act like a man. I just act like someone who demands respect.
You acted like a real woman. You acted like a real woman. Yeah,
but you know what? I tell people, thank God I had that, because I've had so many people I've had men to my face tell me that, oh, you know, you think you're going to be a writer? Well, you're just going to get married and you're going to have kids. You're going to give up your career. And like, what a waste that and I mean, I've had men tell me, so basically you're taking up space. That's my spot you took. And people don't believe me. And I said, no, I've had the most worst sexist, racist things to my face. And people say, oh, that's not true. That didn't happen. And I go, BS. Like, you believe me, I want to cuss here, but I've had to say, no. This really happened to you. Think I make up this bullshit? You think I like being like, I don't. Like, this is real. Anyway, now people believe you, but back then it was like, oh no, you're just overreacting. You're just dramatic. Like, that didn't happen. Microaggressions, that's not real. Anyway, so, but it prepared me. Yeah.
It prepared you. It really did. Yeah. But you know, you obviously you had a vision for yourself very early on, and you stuck to it because, first of all, you went to the high school, Los Angeles County High School
for the arts,
for the arts, where you wrote your first play. We'll back up a little bit there, Simply Maria, in high school, and then you got a BA from in Chicago.
Columbia College, Chicago.
Right, and then you got an MFA at UCLA in the
School of Film and Theater.
Yeah,
Right.
So you were on your track, like, okay, and you just got on that train, and pero early on, what was it that made you want to write these things down and to share these stories?
You know, I had so much coraje because I saw the incredible injustice, the fact that my parents always treated me like I was a burden because I was outspoken, because I wanted too much. They always try to remind me that Mexican women don't do that because that's what they were told, you know. And to me, I would tell my dad, Dad, you brought me to this country. You got deported 4 times. Why didn't you give up? And he'd be like, because I couldn't. And I said, well, then you taught me not to give up. And, you know, I realized that my parents had really limited dreams. Like my mom would say, hi, mija, why don't you become a cosmetologist? I'll pay for your education. And I'd be like, Mom, but that's not my dream. That's somebody else's dream, and they'll be fulfilled with that. But my dream is to challenge all this injustice, to challenge all this sexism and racism, because I feel like I should apologize for being brilliant. I feel like I should apologize for having so many amazing ideas. Why should I apologize? Maybe God made me so that I could bring all these ideas and new ways of thinking and being, because this is what humanity needs. And how, you know, like how sad that women are suppressed. If half of the world is being suppressed, all of the, you know, like resolutions, all the like cures for cancer, all these amazing things that we need in humanity, we could have already solved those problems, because if half of the world is being suppressed, then we're cheating
That's right.
ourselves out of all this incredible brain power and creativity and compassion and empathy. And yeah, so to me, I felt like, no, I have to fight for my voice, because I knew that I would die inside, you know. And something that I'm very public about is that I struggled with depression. I've struggled with ADD. I have a minor form of dyslexia. And also I'm empathic and I'm psychic now. Now I can say I'm psychic. Before I used to be scared, because I'm like, oh shit, maybe I'm psycho, because, you know, I know so many things. I have all these different gifts that now are gifts, but back then we're like, oh my God, estoy loca, I'm gonna end up in a mental hospital, you know. So anyway, so I had to fight, because if I didn't fight, I knew that I was going to die, and not just in my spirit, but also physically, because I had thought about suicide many, many times. So I had to fight to heal myself. And I knew that because my parents didn't believe in therapy, because, you know, I remember I tell people, like, I remember telling my parents, like, Mom, Dad, I feel too much. When you're an empath, you feel like 6 times more than most people. You feel pain, but you also feel happiness, but also sadness. So my mom goes, I told my mom, hi, Mom, can you take me to a psychiatrist? And she goes, oh, ¿qué? No, ¿qué van a pensar de mí? Que tengo una hija loca.
Escándalo, escándalo.
¿Qué van a decir los vecinos? You know, and I'd be like, how sad that my mom thought about what would people say about her, instead of like, oh my God, my poor daughter needs help. And I, you know, now I understand. But so then I had to take up writing in order to express all my anguish, my pain, my suffering. And I basically took up writing to save my life. So my first play contained all the rage, all the coraje, all the misunderstanding, because otherwise I would kill myself. Like I had thought about suicide many times. And so playwriting saved my life. And I tell people that's how come I teach playwriting. That's how come when I see someone suffering, I want to hear their story, because in me witnessing their story, I can carry their burden for them, and I know how to get rid of their burden, you know, energetically in a bunch of other ways. But storytelling saved my life. That's how come I had to fight so hard. Otherwise I'd be gone off this earth.
Did you have any siblings, or was everything on you?
No, I actually was one of 8 kids.
Wow.
So I'm actually a middle child.
Back up.
Yeah.
What were the other 7 kids doing while you were protesting at the table? Were they sitting there with their jaws dropped? How did that fit in?
I think my sisters kind of agreed with me, but they were willing to fight, whereas I would. And part of it is, you know, I was a tomboy. And the thing is, my gift is that I have attention deficit disorder. Okay. It's also a psychic gift, but the medical term for it is that. What that means is that this part of my brain doesn't quite function, which means that before I can even think about like, oh, should I protest? I've already spoken up. Like sometimes when people say something, my mouth has already said it. And I'm like, I've had to catch myself.
I understand that very well. I mean, there's no editing in there, just it's out there. I mean, I'm sometimes shocked what comes out, because you don't think of it first, right? It just comes out.
But sometimes that's the gift that you have for humanity, and that everyone's afraid to tell the truth, and you're just like, oh, I'm the idiot who said it. But okay, people may fire you, may curse you, may do things to you, but other people will secretly thank you. Thank you for speaking up. I've been told by so many people, you know what? I'm so glad you said something, because we were afraid. And I go, well, then I guess I'm the volunteer who has this gift, Yeah.
Most
So I think
people
that's
are
what it is.
afraid. Most
Yeah.
people are afraid. They're
Yeah.
afraid to lose the job. They're afraid to lose the this. They're afraid to, they just se quedan calladitos. They just go
I
through.
tell people that because I have a attention deficit disorder, the gift I have is that I can be with chaos. I can be with uncertainty. I can be with a lot of very heavy emotions that most people can't be with. And in being with chaos, I can also quickly see patterns and create things that are way out of the box. And most people don't want chaos or confrontation. And because I have what I have, I don't mind confrontation. I don't mind chaos. I can be that person. And sometimes you need people like this. I think humanity creates people like us because it has to survive. And so it needs people like us to be the pendejos who volunteer to be first or to say things first because we're willing to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good. And it's necessary,
Let's talk about your passion and your vision for your beloved Boyle Heights. Let's talk about that. I mean, that's one of the reasons that you opened this beautiful theater. That this is the fancy one, pero the first one you opened in 2000, and it was an old bridal shop. That was very brave to open a theater in Boyle Heights in a bridal shop.
Well, here's the thing: is that lo hice lo pendejo, right? In that I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew it had to be done because I when I was growing up. I didn't know there were 87 gangs in Boyle Heights, right? But
you're thinking theater goers.
That's right. All they need is plays to go. No, they need something to do on the weekends.
Yes.
No, what I thought was, wait, how come there are no cultural centers? How come there's no place of inspiration? There are churches, but how come there are no theaters? So for me, I felt like, wait a minute, we need to tell our stories because, when I was growing up, the only time they mentioned Boyle Heights was when there was a drive-by. That was it. We were in the news for drive-bys. So I set out to change the narrative and to say, no, you know what? I want to have world premieres so that the news stations have to come out and cover the world premieres of all the plays, festivals, art gallery openings. We've had so many, we've had over 200 plays at our theater. And, and so the narrative had to change that no, amazing things happen in Boyle Heights besides drive-bys because there's an immigrant drive in our community, and our community is like the Ellis Island of the West Coast. There are so many incredible things about Boyle Heights that I feel like, no, it's not
the
fair.
The history is so rich.
I said, we have to change this narrative. So that's how come I decided to, I went to UCLA, got my master's degree in screenwriting, and I was going to teach anyone who wanted to learn playwriting and screenwriting so that we could say, no, we're going to tell our stories. We're not going to let other people tell us who we are because I know who I am and I know who our community is. We are survivors. We are resilient people. Right now, we are the essential workers of Los Angeles, And so I just felt like that was important. And the one thing I learned is that whenever you complain about not getting opportunities, the way you heal that spiritually, mentally, is that the things you wish someone would give to you, you give to other people. So for me, I wanted more opportunities, because, I started my own theater because no one would produce my play in Los Angeles.
That's right.
That's what I tell people.
It's sad, but it's true.
It's true. I had already 19 productions of Real Women Have Curves in cities where there are no Latinos. I had a production in Sarasota, Florida, which is nothing but retired Republicans. And I said, how can my play be done at a really 500-seat theater and it cannot be done in Los Angeles where we are like the majority? I thought that was, and I was told such racist things like, oh, I don't care for your Chicana diatribe. Oh, this is undignified to show Latinas in a sewing factory. Really racist stuff. I have the letters to prove it. People don't believe me. And I go, no. I've had people tell me that this is a horrible play. And I go, this is the same play that has won a bunch of awards. The movie has won a bunch of awards. Now it's going to become a Broadway musical. The Broadway musical is in development. But I've had people tell me horrific things, racist things about this play that has proven to be a classic because it's had over 100 productions. It gets taught at universities and high schools. It's usually the play that a Latina actress who's starting out gets to star in, at a college level,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so,
right.
So I basically got tired of complaining because no one would produce my play, that I took my student loans from UCLA when I was getting my master's degree. And I used those student loans to start a production, to basically start my production company, produce my play. And then that's how the producer, George LaVue, saw it. And that's how it became a movie. And then I said, you know what? It's not enough to get one production done. I have to start my own theater company so that I can do plays about Latinos and women year round, not just during Women's History Month or Latino History Month. I'm gonna,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
you know,
Once a month they think we're fabulous.
that's right. So then that's what I did. And I didn't know how to start a theater. I just knew it needed to get done. And you know what I've learned is that when you are so committed and passionate about what you know is right, the right people show up. A man who had theater administration skills and fundraising, he showed up in my life, and we started a theater. A publicist showed up. I mean, a bunch of a set designer. And to me, you know, when you take a stand for something and you say, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do it, but it's going to get done, the universe says yes. And that's been my life, because I go, no sé cómo lo voy a hacer, pero it has to be done, because I cannot stand it that you know, we have these big theaters that take so much money from the city funding, and yet maybe there's a Latino story once every 2 years. And how can we be the majority? Yeah, how can we be the majority and yet we have no representation at the big theaters that they get funding from the city? That's unfair. And that's also why I started my own theater company, because I knew that I was never going to get produced at those theaters, because they go to New York to get their playwrights. They go to New York to get the stories instead of going in their own backyard to look for writers.
And you know, I only went to a couple of productions at your original theater. I discovered you a little late, but I've been many times to your beautiful 99-seat theater that's got an art gallery and everything, and the production values are really fantastic. I'm talking about the lighting, the set, the staging, and one I want to talk about this one, which is called Remembering Boyle Heights. There's our friend Roberta Martinez. Tell me if this was so, Corky Dominguez did this with you, right? Our darling Corky.
We co-created it, yeah. And the ensemble also
it was so beautiful. The writing, the staging, it was absolutely beautiful.
You know, I started the Boyle Heights Museum, which is a series of exhibits about the history of Boyle Heights and also the contributions of Mexican Americans in Boyle Heights and also other cultures. And I wanted to do this play because I tell people that gentrification is not just about, you know, like a house that gets flipped and it's like 3 times the amount in a poor neighborhood and then it displaces people. It's more than that. It's the loss of a history, a heritage, a people's, a culture. And so for me, I said, no, you know what? If we inspire people to understand the history of Boyle Heights, maybe they'll join us in being more aware and conscious. And, you know, I'm so proud of the people of Boyle Heights. Some people may say this is controversial for me to say this, but, you know, I was studying art business, and there's art galleries that have crept into Boyle Heights that are basically New York galleries that exhibit mostly people from New York or rich people, or anyway, not people from the community. And again, and I was in art history in my art business class, and they were talking about how the protest in Boyle Heights made art history because it's the first time in the history of art that people have protested art galleries, that people have said, no, you can't come in and gentrify our community. And so the art galleries in the art world was like, what? I was like, yes, you know, because a lot of people can enter into poor neighborhoods or working class neighborhoods and African-American, Latino neighborhoods, although Latino neighborhoods are more likely to get gentrified than Black neighborhoods. Yeah. And you know, the communities get gentrified usually when they put a metro. The stations, the area where the station's at, that's usually the first places, and the cafes anyway. So I feel very proud of our community that we've spoken up, that we feel entitled to say something, because we're not a blank canvas. Boyle Heights is not a blank canvas. You can just put crap on it, you know. It's like, no, we have a history. You're welcome to come to Boyle Heights, but respect the history, acknowledge what is there, work with the community. There's ways that you can be a person who's not from the community and not gentrify. And it takes a conscious effort to say, who's my neighbor? You know, like, don't just call the police because, you know, there's a quinceañera going out till 4 a.m. Hey, this is Boyle Heights, you know, like, enjoy the music, you know. There's things you can do to not gentrify. And so we did this play to show people the incredible history so that we don't lose the history, so people can say, no, we need to preserve these stories because they're really important to not just the Mexican American community, but the Jewish community, the Italian American community, you know, like African American community, the Russians. It's such an incredible story. And also the way we did this play is it's devised theater, meaning that we audition actors to say, why do you care about Boyle Heights? Why do you want to be in this? And they actually have to create. We basically had an outline and said, okay, this is the history, but how do we make history come alive? And we did have specific stories we wanted to celebrate, like for instance, the first city council member, Edward Roybal, right?
Yeah,
He was the
sure.
first Latino in the city
Legendary
council.
man. Yeah.
You know, and so we wanted to tell his story and the importance of his story in Boyle Heights. And so we chose like Ralph Lazo, you know, who was the only non-Japanese person to go to an internment camp so that he could bear witness to the injustice
Yes.
against the
Yes.
Japanese American community. There were so many beautiful stories that we found, you know, to celebrate all these cultures, and also Roosevelt High School, and how Roosevelt was like, you know, it was like the UN. It had every kind of culture and so many kind of languages, and it was so wonderful to see our audiences with Japanese American people, African American people, Jewish American people. Like, how many people came to celebrate Boyle Heights
And to see their stories, and
to
if
see their
you
story,
don't
yeah.
put them on, we don't put them on, who is?
Yeah. Yeah, so this was a huge success, and we were going to do part 2 actually last fall, but COVID happened. But there's going to be a part 2 because we basically told a story from the Tonga people, the natives who, you know, were first in the land where Boyle Heights is now, and then up to 1945 when the Japanese American people were taken to the internment camps.
Tournament, yeah.
And then the Jewish American people were like, it basically ended around World War II. So we want to do part 2 that begins with the Zoot Suit riots and then goes up to the present, so that we could also cover the incredible rock and roll movement in the 60s and the muralist movement and Mothers of East LA. There's just so many. And then also the freeways coming in and tearing up Boyle Heights, and basically there's so many more stories that we have to cover so that people get a complete history. And what we did is we filmed them, and by filming them we basically can we're going to edit a documentary, and that way people have access to the whole series and people can use it for educational purposes. And it's part of our museum creation.
It was so interesting, the historic storytelling, and it was so beautifully staged. It was elegant. I was quite blown away. So kudos on that one in particular. Another thing I love about your theater, and
let me add something right now.
Go ahead.
Our publicist would be upset if I didn't mention it. Right now we have an incredible exhibit, a photography exhibit celebrating African American History Month. And the photographer is, and I forgot his first name, and I don't have my notes, Mr. Simmons, but it's online. And so go to casa0101.org. There's going to be an interview. All the information is on the website. Please check it out. All right.
Good.
I think I got it.
That's good. You got it. You got it.
Yeah. Check out our website. Amazing things are there on our website.
The wonderful thing also is, in addition to all these productions, there's so many, there's classes in screenwriting and playwriting and all that. And you do play festivals. And yes, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
And play festivals, because I particularly am fond of the Out and Brown Play Festival.
Brown and Out.
Brown and Out.
Yes.
Out, Brown, look at that. And this is the year you honored me, but it wasn't only that I love it. Look at all those gifted young brown, there's Corky, all these gifted brown faces, young actors and writers and from the LGBT community. But I just loved it. I enjoyed it so much, and it inspires me so much. Oh, don't show that. Yeah, wait the hell. I'll be a lot of those drinking again. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Anyway, but I what you do for young people, and you're right, you did this, you taught she taught a 5-day playwriting course that you filmed. Screenwriting that you filmed, and it's on her website free, and you can take this whole damn course. Tell them about it.
It's called the Latino Screenwriting Academy. And I went to UCLA, I got a master's degree. It cost me about $27,000, which is nothing for a master's degree. But I realized that it's ridiculous for someone to think, oh, let me go get a master's degree. Let me spend $100,000 and then try to be a screenwriter, because you're going to spend a lot of time trying to get a job so you can pay your student loans while trying to write. So I said, oh, wait, you know what? I'm going to put all the resources online for free, because that way you can take my course. And then I have tons of videos on how to sell a TV show, how to create amazing characters, like samples, a lot of my work, right? It's not perfect, but it's my work and the stuff that I've actually sold to network, so that way you see what sells. And I basically gave away all these resources because I'd rather you say no, you know what? Because you can teach yourself screenwriting, right? And anyway, go to those resources, Latino Screenwriting Academy, but it's with Josefina Lopez .biz. Look under Latino Screenwriting Academy.
That's .biz, not .com, .biz.
Sorry, .biz, yeah.
Yeah,
.biz,
and that's
yeah.
also where you have your paranormal page.
That's right. I love talking about that. I have a section
it's
called
fascinating.
Wise Latina, and people always ask me questions because I'm a certified past life regression hypnotherapist. I'm a curandera in training. I'm a shaman in training. I have several psychic abilities and a bunch of different really interesting things that I didn't know. Anyway, it's from my abuela. It's from my ancestors on my mother's side.
So by the time we do our Halloween show, you'll have all kinds of good new stuff.
Oh,
right?
oh yeah. So anyway, so a lot of your questions about like what's the meaning of life, like why does this, that, a lot of the questions could be answered there. And then also I help people with paranormal problems. That's one of my callings. I help people with a lot of stuff that's very dark. And some people get freaked out when I talk about it. So just go check out my website and I tell you what.
It's fantastic. I want to talk about the French Connection. I don't mean the movie. I don't mean the movie, but you have a diploma from the Cordon Bleu, and you have a French husband and French children.
Well, I have a French ex-husband. We're very good
ex-husband.
Friends. Yes.
It's so hard to keep up with you, darling.
It is. No, the only thing I can say is that we're still very good friends.
Well, that's
and
good.
I just realized that I had to go on a spiritual path, and he wasn't quite as supportive as I had hoped. And I realized, you know what? I don't want to pretend I always felt like I've been married a couple times, and it's been hard to do that, to walk away. But I realized that I had to be true to myself. And I realized that he deserves a better wife, and I deserve to go on my path and not feel guilty about doing what's
Absolutely.
my calling, I think all women, if you have a calling, because it kills you not to live your truth. Anyway, we're good friends, but I do have Frenchicans. I call my children Frenchicanos, Frenchicans.
They're adorable. I don't know how old they are now, but we have a great photo.
Yes.
Abelardo.
Mother's
Yeah,
Day.
look at those. How old are they now? How old are they?
One is 18 and the other one is 15 and a half. The one with no teeth, Sebastian, and he's my little.
And Etienne.
Yeah, he's 18. Yeah, and it's Senata de Garibaldi actually. That's the restaurant where I celebrate Mother's Day, and then now it's Casa Fina. Yeah,
of course, I love Casa
photo.
Fina, and I want to think about that because I'm thinking to myself, Josefina, God bless her. During a pandemic, you have a theater and a restaurant. I mean, why didn't you just, sleep on broken glass instead of going through that? What are you doing?
Okay, well, it's funny because these two, the restaurant and the theater, we created them to create community, to enrich our community. So it's sad that these have been hit the worst, right? The good thing is that the theater, we do like 8 to 10 productions a year, which is overwhelming and too much. So the executive director, Manuel de Leage, and the staff they're sad that it's closed, but they're happy that they're catching up on all their paperwork. And so it's an opportunity to catch up because we've done incredible things that we say, oh my God, we have to document them. We have to catch up with our taxes. So it's an opportunity to catch up. With the restaurant, we've been creative. During the pandemic, we started a program called Buy One, Give One.
Yes.
We had a homeless shelter approach us about donating food. And so what we did is if people bought a meal, we would donate a meal. And so we were able to give several meals and we got a lot of publicity for it, but we did it because we wanted to keep the employees employed. So we said, oh, why don't we turn the restaurant into a grocery store? And so we were delivering toilet paper and basically, because we have access to bulk items, we said, why don't we sell groceries and deliver them, especially to seniors in Boyle Heights for free and anyone who needs them because people were really scared. So we had to be very creative to keep the employees employed. Yeah. You
have that beautiful back area where you're able to do outdoor dining.
Yeah, and when we opened the restaurant, that's exactly what we wanted to do. But there's so many restrictions in Boyle Heights. That's the unfair thing about it. With the pandemic, we were allowed to open a backyard patio, and it's so beautiful. You forget about everything. You think you're in
Yeah.
Italy or Mexico because of this.
Yeah, it's very secluded. It's secluded back there. It's
very
beautiful.
nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you haven't been to Casa Fina, it is beautiful and elegant and great food. So
Yeah, and you know, we have the work of Juan Solis, and we have all these beautiful paintings. We have the work of Margaret Garcia. So it's a celebration of Chicano culture as well as Mexican culture. And it's a beautiful place, but it's really affordable. We wanted to make sure that people in the community could go to it because the previous restaurant was amazing and wonderful, but it was also sometimes out of the price. It wasn't as accessible, whereas, you know, now it's more accessible.
it's beautiful. I'm such a fan. I've always been a fan, but really, we could do 2 more hours, and I thank you so much. And I want to close this part because we had people who've been sending questions in.
Oh yeah.
And so Abelardo is going to pick a couple, but I want to end this part with a quote, one of your quotes. And Abelardo, don't you take me away yet. Okay. I love this quote. I too have a dream that one day women will be judged by the content of their character, their creative and intellectual contributions to society, rather than by the color of their hair, the size of their waist, or the perkiness of their breasts. And you still believe that, right?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
I love you. I love you. I love you. What kind of questions do we have for our Josefina, Abelardo?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dan and Josefina, for zooming in from Ecuador, and for Dan for, of course, your preparation with these great questions and the sending over the images and getting it together for our attendees who are just in marvel of everything that you've done, Josefina. So a question that we have here for Josefina, with all that you do and give of yourself, how do you recharge your soul?
Good one.
Thank you. That's a great question. I actually go on retreats. I go to spiritual retreats, yoga retreats. I'm actually at a yoga teacher training retreat. So I'm actually learning shamanism. I'm learning self-care. I'm working on my, like I take classes. I love to learn. I also go cooking. I also paint. I also sculpt. I'm a Renaissance woman. So I basically say, oh my God, let's go learn something new. And I also go out of my comfort zone. It's funny. Most people would say, "Oh my God, that's work." I go, "No, that's how I take care of myself." And say, "You know what? Let me go within and look at my pain because then that way I can expand myself. So when I recharge myself, I can come back to my work with a bigger heart, bigger mind, bigger spirit, and I can keep giving." Yeah.
Are your two boys?
I also take hot baths. I take hot baths in salt water. That's also.
I was going to say, are your two boys kind of in that world on that journey, or are they kind of on a different path, or too soon to tell?
No, both my sons have. They're both empathic. One I can already tell is psychic. The other one is psychic with art. So they actually have the gifts. That's also was the challenging part about having someone married to someone who didn't quite believe in that. And I told my kids, look, it's very normal for, like, my mother would predict the future. My mother could see ghosts. My grandfather could see ghosts. So for us, it's normal to do that. So when my kids started telling me, mommy, there's a ghost in I'd be like, okay, what did it look like? What was the feeling? Like, I really take them seriously.
Then it was a good ghost or a bad spirit, right? A good or a bad spirit.
I had my son say, mommy, grandpère, their French grandfather visits me. And I go, oh, what did he say? And he said, well, he's right here. And I scan and I see him and I go, oh my God, he's here. And my kids would tell me, yeah, we can see our grandfather. And I go, and I believe them because I go, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that question was from Miguel. Let's see. Well, Miguel, thank you so much, Miguel Lara, for that question. Another question we have. Let's see. I'm sorry. From Pam Lopez Gallardo. Can you explain a little more how your ADD is connected to your strong intuition or psychic ability?
Okay, so the scientific explanation is that the frontal lobe doesn't work, which means that I don't have a filter, so I'm able to pick up more information than the average brain. So, because information is coming at us, like 2 billion bits of information is coming at us every single second, but our normal brain filters it out, whereas an ADD brain takes in that much more, right? So I'm able to pick up people's feelings. I'm able to pick up people's past lives. I'm able to pick up information that's in the field, but we're not supposed to know about it. And somehow I see it, or I feel it, I know it, I hear it. Yeah, I used to think I was crazy. And then I met a lot of psychics who said, girl, ADD is psychic ability. And I was like, oh, when you are born into a family where, you know, there's a spiritual gift, or ADD gets repeated, it's because of that. We sort of made a request of the creator to be able to tune into other things that people can't witness or see for a reason. You know, we are the seers of a community. We are the wise people who pick up this information to give to others, to be messengers. I hope that answers your question. Go on my website and there's more information.
All right. Well, we have put the link to both Josefina Lopez biz, and then also here on the chat, and also on the Facebook. Another question, Beatriz Ochoa is asking, Josefina,
oh yeah, hi Beatriz.
What are your next projects?
Thank you for asking. What a great question. So I am trying to sell Real Women Have Curves, the TV show. So I've been actively pitching it. I also have a lot of movies that I've written that I'm trying to sell, horror films, you know. But I want to work on a novel about, you know how all the braceros came, and a lot of them worked in Napa Valley. And as a result of all this labor, Mexican labor, these braceros, Napa flourished. So I want to tell the story of the braceros who became vintners, because the children of the braceros have opened their own wineries. There's over, I think, maybe 12, 15 wineries, or maybe 20. And I just go, oh my God, I want to tell that story because my dad was a bracero. And I have a wonderful idea. I deal a lot with curses. One of the things I help people with is curses, because family curses are real. And so I want to tell a story that really looks at the history of Napa, but also our contribution, but also curses and how curses work. So I want to write a novel called Blood of the Earth. So that's one of my things. You know, I also have a book I want to, I'm almost done with it. It's called Stand in the Light, which is my journey into healing and to becoming, I guess, a curandera, or what I do, because I want to help people to understand. You see, because right now a lot of people are getting the frequencies rising, so more people are becoming psychic. More people are starting to awaken, and people are freaking out because they're like, oh shoot, I can hear things, I can see things, I don't know what's going on. So I want to kind of open a school called the School of Joy, where I'm going to teach classes online, but also in person, so that people who are waking up can understand what's going on, because there's a lot of people who are light workers who have a calling to be curanderos, to be healers, you know, light warriors, but they don't know where to go. And also, it's a very elitist thing with spirituality. It's very expensive to be spiritual. This is what I found out, right? You go to all these retreats, you go to all these places, it's expensive. So working class people don't have the opportunity to train or to really, so I want to offer a school that's practically free, so everyone can have access to this information that's very privileged. It's cost me like over $20,000 to learn so many skills.
Yikes.
So I want to offer for free. I basically, what I do is I go to these places that people like us don't get to go, and I offer for free. I give it to the people so that everyone can have access to it.
I see here someone wrote you the Magda Madrigal.
Oh yeah, Magda.
Josefina changed my life through her theta healing.
Theta healing, yeah, which is what shamans do. It's basically what shamans do. We go to this other place, this other quantum field, and we just, it's like basically I change your website. If your website's crappy and it's got bad stuff on it, I go in, I change your HTML coding, but I do it energetically, spiritually, and I download better coding for you, and it changes your life instantly.
Wow.
And it's what shamans do, but I do it very fast and very easily, no pain, and anyway, yeah.
Right. Well, Maria Elena Gomez is looking forward to the School of Joy, as am I. Let us know. When are you coming back, Josefina?
I come
Halloween.
back.
Halloween. She's coming back.
On your show or back from Ecuador?
Oh, okay. No, good. That's right.
I come back middle of March. Yeah, but I'm going to start working on the School of Joy because there's so much I want to teach people. I have this gift where I can see people's past lives. And I know what karma you have. Like if you know, because people go, oh my God, like I tell people, oh my God, what did I do to be a Chicana in this lifetime? And I realize, oh shit, I shot a Mexican in a past life. Oh shit, that's come a Chicana in this one. Like, yeah, there's a lot of what we do now is
That
connected
past
to our
life
past.
regression has always intrigued me.
Yeah. So I teach people about karma, how
Yeah.
karma works, and why there's certain things you have to
And
do.
karma's speeding up these days, isn't it?
Everything, yeah. And the more enlightened you are, the quicker it is. I know that if I do something crappy to someone, within an hour it comes back at me, and I'm like, ah. I honk at someone, I go, ah, and I go, oh shoot, it's gonna come, and then within an hour, bites me in the butt. So I'm much more careful. Yeah.
Oh God.
Quick. Well, from Henry Chavez, not a question, just a comment. Years ago, my wife Yolanda found this play happening in a small theater on Sunset in Silver Lake. After attending the show, we realized that this playwright was going to have a profound effect on our Latino community. Thank you for all you've done for us.
Gracias. Thank you.
Lots of that. I love you, Josefina, from Linda Hernandez. Roberta Martinez. Oh, good. She's sober. Poor dear. We love her. Oh, Abel Abelardo. Tell it, mujer. Is that you?
No, Abel Alvarado.
Yes.
That's why I read the comments, Dan. You
know
your
what?
questions, and I read the comments.
These are new trifocals, and I'm not used to it yet. I don't know who I am.
No, and Abel Alvarado is great because he's been a leader in the LGBTQ Latino community and also with our theater festival. I started branching out because I felt that we needed to celebrate everybody, right? It's not just white men's stories, but everybody's stories. And Casa is a place where we try to include as many people. And we felt that like there's so much sexual shame. And I just felt the stories of LGBTQ people are really models for us to really take ownership of our sexuality, because our sexuality is also our creativity and our life force. And so for me, a lot of my work is about dispelling shame, about anything, anything that lives in the dark can make you sick. So we take everything that's in the dark and we bring it to the light, and we show it to God and say, oh, God, take it from us, because we don't need to be ashamed. And so Abel is he's a wonderful costume designer at Casa, and he's been a leader in the LGBTQ community. And we actually are going to do a musical called Arena, which is a musical that celebrates this place. Remember Arena? I never got to go, but
on Santa Monica.
Yeah. So we're going to do a show that celebrates this safe space for LGBTQ people during the AIDS epidemic. And it's going to be a celebration. It's going to be a great show once we open the theater again.
You better live to be 1,000, because you have so much work to do.
I have so much work to do. Yeah. This is like I'm not afraid of dying, because I've been fortunate in that I've almost died 6 times, but I've had divine intervention each time. Yep. I've had a voice tell me, to move. I've had a voice tell me to run, to get out of the apartment. I've been saved. Like I even had a car crash that I was supposed to die, and I was divinely like 3 times I've almost died in a car crash, and they're like, nope, it's not your time to go. And part of it is because I have a lot of work to do. And one of the things I've learned is that when you decide to be of service, and especially if you decide to work for the angelic realm will not let you die, because they need more people to do this work.
Yeah.
So they guard you. So I've had like so many close calls that they're like, nuh-uh, you're too precious. And so that's the kind of, no me da miedo. I'm not the kind of, I get in a lot of trouble, no me da miedo.
I believe that I have some spirit there, because I've had many close calls también, quite a few, and I've always felt there's something there.
Yeah, we are all guided. We all have divine guidance. We just have to.
My mother claims her mother, who was from Durango, had powers.
Yeah,
and she died when I was a week old. So my mother always said that she was looking out for me, and I believe she must be exhausted, because I
troublemaker.
I do feel that I have somebody's taking care of me.
The thing is, we all have ancestors that look out for us because they want us to succeed. So a lot of our ancestors are always there whispering us, always trying to inspire us, but we just have to listen. Everybody's divinely guided.
That's my abuelita.
Yeah, she's looking out for you. She must be exhausted too.
Everybody's divinely guided, but we just have to hear. I tell people that God speaks to me, and I remember someone made fun of me and said, oh yeah, right, who do you think you are? I said, you know what? I'm nothing special. God speaks to me because I hear him. God speaks to everybody, but you have to be able to and willing to hear. Then, because I tell people, yeah, God speaks to everyone. When God says, when you hear or you get the inspiration to feed the hungry, to stand up for the voiceless. That's God speaking to you, saying, do something, you know? So all of us can be connected. We just have to be willing to hear.
Are any of your brothers and sisters have any of these gifts?
Yes, I have my sister. I have another sister who's empathic like me who has very similar gifts. And then my nephews and nieces, well, this is what we're finding out, right? Is that they're diagnosed with learning disabilities, and yet they have psychic gifts and they have very unusual gifts, and they're showing up stronger in the next generation. And I think the next generation is going to get them stronger. Yeah.
The indigo children.
Crystal. Yeah. There's all these types of people. A lot of children are being born awake. Like
Yeah.
I have, my sister has a granddaughter who is very psychic. And I really think it's my grandmother, that's my grandmother's soul. Because when I look at her, I see my grandmother or a grandmother from an ancestor looking back at me. So I do think that happens. Yeah.
You can see babies like that. I'll see, you know, when I used to be able to walk around unmasked in my neighborhood, lots of ladies with carriages or nannies with carriages. And some babies are like, and some they're like, they are not missing a thing. They're in that carriage and they're watching and they're looking, and I can see them. And other also, I don't know what's going on. You know, you can
It's old
see
souls
the
and new
kids that
souls, yeah.
arrived and they're ready to go, man. They're ready to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we have to wrap. Josefina, I love you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for
We have a
inviting me.
Halloween date, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay.
All right.
Abelardo,
Yes.
thank
well,
you as usual.
Thank you so much to both you and Josefina. Also, all of you that joined us on Zoom and Facebook. We have Lalo Alcaraz.
Oh, Lalo, we love Lalo.
No,
We love
Lalo.
Lalo.
Olivia Wilkins from Lucerne Valley. She got her first vaccine today.
Ah, good.
Good for her. Lydia de los Rios from Claremont, California. Lisa Montes Tan, you inspire us all, Josefina. Sticking to it, sticking to it, with it, and to them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much to everybody that joined us on Zoom, Facebook Live. Thank you again to Dan and Josefina. This again, Dan, another classic, another one for the books. If you
I want to raise. Oh wait,
if you came in late to this,
it's to you, Josefina. Take a screenshot of Josefina and us toasting.
Here, let's do a gallery show here.
Okay.
And uno, dos, y tres. All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Josefina.
Buenas noches, everyone. Thank you.
Gracias.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Buenas noches a todos.
Buenas noches.
Please join us next week. Again, we start with another week of En Casa con la Plaza. This is our 42nd, 43rd week, 130 sessions that we've done all these months, and we're going to keep going. We have on tap for next week, starting on Monday, Aguachile Verde de Camarón en español con Chef Luis Cardenas from La Medina Cocina Abierta in Ensenada, California. Direct from Ensenada, he'll be with our great Director of Programming and Culinary Arts, Jimena Martin, on lunes, el 22 de febrero a las 3 de la tarde. On Wednesday, February 24th, Afro-Peruvian Culture in LA with Nadia Calmet, an educator and choreographer. It was a year ago this next week that we opened up our Afro-Latinidad, Mi Casa, My City exhibition at La Plaza. We opened for 3 weeks, then we had to shut it down for the COVID, but we've kept it online. If you go to our website, lapca.org, just click on Afro-Latinidad and you'll get a walkthrough. You'll get some videos and so on. But Nadia Calmet, who was at our reception, she put on a fabulous show with a group of Afro-Peruvian dancers and singers. She will be on the program En Casa con la Plaza on Wednesday, February 24th. And finally, on Friday, February 26th, this is a special one. We'll be screening a full documentary, Singing Our Way to Freedom. It's a virtual screening. It documents the life and music of Ramon Chunky Sanchez, from his beginning as a farm worker in Blythe to receiving one of the nation's highest musical honors at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. will be followed by a Q&A with the director of the documentary, Paul Espinosa. So that's next Friday, the 26th at 7 p.m. only on Zoom. Sorry, Facebook people, but you're gonna have to register on Zoom, so you could do it through our website, lapca.org. And you could even do it through our Facebook event page. Register and you could watch the full documentary, plus enjoy the Q&A with Paul Espinosa. So that does it for tonight. Rick Cardenas says, Josefina, you just made a new fan. Linda Hernandez, thank you. Dan, you were hilarious. We know that already. Anyway, muchas gracias a todos. Muy buenas noches. Thank you to Kaiser Permanente and PepsiCo for sponsoring the program. Thank you to all the staff and Board of Trustees at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Thank you to all of you out there. And nos vemos la semana que viene. Muy buenas noches. Bye-bye.